everyone, and welcome to our March Hope series, Pages of You, a personal journey through guided autobiography and soul collage. I'm Heidi Parker. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a community initiatives manager here at Arts and Healing Initiative, and I am your Zoom host today. This program is presented as part of our free Hope series, Healing Online for People Everywhere, which we created to support the resilience of our global community through social emotional arts. Each workshop offers a supportive space for connection, healing, and empowerment as we navigate the changes in our world. If you have previously attended a Hope session, welcome back. If you are new, thank you for joining today. We're grateful you are all here to create, learn, and grow together as a community. Today's program is in a meeting format, so please keep yourself muted until prompted otherwise. We are recording today's session in speaker view to be shared on our YouTube channel, and you are welcome to leave your cameras on as you feel comfortable, as we'd love for you to actively participate. We also pause the recording during any reflections, and those pieces are not shared on YouTube. Our session today is scheduled for 2 hours, and feel free to add questions in the chat as they arise or use the raise hand function. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Tongva Nation, on whose home and land the unceded territory of Los Angeles resides. As we are reminded of our environment's vulnerabilities, we hold respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who still consider themselves the caretakers of this land. By their example, we are reminded of our responsibility to our planet and to one another. So let us reflect on and honor with gratitude the Indigenous communities of past and present on whose land you are joining from today. I would like to welcome today's presenter. Kimberly Lee is a versatile writer, editor, creativity coach, and facilitator with a passion for nurturing the imaginative spirit and helping others reveal their own inner wisdom. A graduate of Stanford University and UC Davis School of Law, she is a certified guided autobiography instructor and an authorized soul collage facilitator. She has also completed training with the Center for General Therapy, the Center for Intentional Creativity, the Path Meditation, and serves on the board of Amherst Writers and Artists. Kimberly has also led workshops at numerous retreats and conferences, and her stories and essays have appeared in numerous publications and anthology. She trusts in the magic of miracles, synchronicity, and believes that everyone is creative. She lives in Southern California with her husband and 3 children. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Heidi, for that introduction. And thank you all for being here and starting this series with us today. I'm really excited as I look at all the faces and all the squares and then the content in the chat, which is making me hungry. I see a multitude of stories itching to be told. The universe is prolific, and in each square, I know there's tons of stories. And so this will be an opportunity to put them to paper with words and images. There is a quote that I love, several that I love, and this is by the great James Baldwin. For while the tale of how we suffer and how we are delighted and how we may triumph is never new, it always must be heard. Another that I like that I feel encapsulates what we'll be doing here is this one by Rachel Naomi Remen. Facts bring knowledge, stories bring wisdom. And then still along those lines from the great Ralph Ellison, when I discover who I am, I'll be free. And then finally, I like quotes, as you could tell. Each one of us is packed full of details which might like to glitter for a moment, by Naomi Shihab Nye. And so this will be a chance for your details to glitter and shimmer and shine, and a chance for the self-discovery that can come with writing and creating. And sometimes we think we've analyzed it all about our lives, but often putting things on the page brings new insight and surprises. And it's an opportunity to acknowledge all that you hold within that has brought you to this very point today, the present, and the strength and the resilience to kind of uncover that will carry you forward into the future. So I will be your guide, steward, and facilitator for this exploration. My French teacher in high school, Sister Teresa, would be thrilled to know that I remember the verb facilite, which is the
Mhm.
root of facilitator, which means to render easy or to make easy. And so that will be my job and role, is to make this an easy and fun process to write about your life and to create collages that have something for you, a message for you about your life. So, in this process of writing and reflecting, I just encourage you to be gentle with yourselves. If you encounter something painful or difficult, know that it's okay to pause and take a step back. The goal is to nurture and empower yourself, not to dwell in pain. So, I invite you to focus on the positive aspects of your journey, the resilience you've shown, the strength that has carried you through. So, you are in control of your story, and just you can choose to approach it and view it with a high level of compassion. I also always offer my workshops and lead them from the CARES guidelines, which is an acronym that stands for confidentiality, acceptance, respect, empathy, and support. So know that anything you share, and let's all agree, will be received and witnessed from that basis, from those principles. Sharing is always a invitation, and it's never an obligation. So you will always free to pass and simply witness others. But we hope that we'll make an environment that will feel comfortable enough to share. I want to tell you what this is not. It is not a critique writing workshop where we will be taking a verbal red pen to your writing and telling you, oh, you should have written from this perspective, or this should have gone here, this should have been. That is not what this is, nor is it an art school. So we will not, when we sharing our collages, be, oh, composition and perspective and scale and so on and so forth. This is expressive arts, which is simply a chance to express ourselves creatively, and hopefully to learn something along the way. So our focus is on the process, and that's where really the true value lies. This is the Arts and Healing Initiative, as it says there. It's not the Arts and Injuring Initiative. So our plan is to do no harm, and it's all about the value of what we can gain. All writing and art is welcome. So you don't have to consider yourself a writer or an artist to write your story or to do a collage. So even if you came here thinking, or someone told you about this, and you're like, I'm not really a writer, I don't consider myself an artist, great, you're in the right place. No need to label yourself as such. Just do it anyway. We want to hear your stories. We want to see what you create. And so just give yourself permission over these next 4 weeks to play, to be a beginner, and to know that you will find your own way. Your intuition will guide you in the direction you need to go to find the benefit for yourself. Um, all right, so I feel like I've said a lot. I'm going to say a little bit more, but in a different way. I'd like to just help us arrive here now with a brief guided meditation, and just help us center and just fully be here. I was rushing down the stairs to sit here as well. So maybe you are coming from someplace. You're here now, settle in, find a comfortable position. And with your eyes open now, and just maybe softly gazing around, take in what's around you. Maybe there's things that you don't notice in your environment. So noticing now colors, light, shadow, observing your space without judgment, simply noticing maybe little small details, textures. Now bring awareness to what your body is touching, feeling the support beneath you, the texture of your clothing, the temperature of the air on your skin. Now tuning into the sounds around you, both the near and distant sounds, the silence between them. Let them come and go without holding on to them. Now gently breathe in through the nose and notice any sense or the absence of scent. Perhaps the air carries something familiar, or maybe it is simply neutral. And finally, if you feel a taste, notice it. Perhaps the lingering hint of something you just drank or ate, or just the natural taste that exists there. Simply observe. And now, letting all that go, if you haven't already, allow your eyes to gently close or just focus your gaze out. Shift your focus inward now and bring your awareness to the breath. Feel the inhale as it enters the nose, filling your lungs, and the exhale as it releases, softening the body. Nothing to force, nothing to change, just noticing the natural rhythm of your breath like waves arriving at the shore. With each breath, letting the body relax even more, letting go of tension and any expectation, simply being here, present with yourself. And as we journey inward, we'll be exploring our many layers, the stories we carry, the parts of us that have been forgotten or set aside. We'll be stepping into a gentle homecoming. With each breath, we return to ourselves with kindness, with recognition, with love. Derek Walcott's words echo this, reminding us that we have always belonged to ourselves. Let these words settle softly into your heart like a warm embrace, guiding you home. Derek Walcott. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself to the stranger who has loved you all your life, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit and feast on your life. And now taking one more deep breath in, slowly exhaling. And when you're ready, slowly bring yourself back to the space around you. So we are going to let me tell you a little bit about how the next 2 hours or hour and 45 minutes is going to look. We'll do a little short reading and a warm up, right? Maybe just 5 minutes. And then we will move right into SoulCollage. And so I will be giving kind of an overview of SoulCollage and then having you experience it, walking you through the gentle process of creating an intuitive collage. And then we'll have an opportunity to go into small groups of 3 to share what came of our collage. We always interpret it through some journaling. And then we will come back and then I will give you an overview of the guided autobiography process. And then we'll have a chance to do a longer piece of writing. And then we will go back into those same groups to share. I'll give you some tips on how to listen and give feedback. And then we'll return to our main group for some comments and, if time permits, a closing activity. So that's what it'll look like over our time together. And what I'd love to do now is, if there was a bold and brave volunteer to read a poem that I have by the great poet laureate Joy Harjo. I would love a volunteer, give you a little break from me, and feel free to place your little hand. I see it, Millie. All right, thank you. Here it comes. Thank you, Millie.
I'm reading the whole thing.
Please.
Sure. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies teethe at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it, we make women. At this table we gossip, recall enemies and the ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor falling down selves and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth on this table and have prepared our parents for burial here. At this table, we sing with sorrow, we pray for suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table, while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite. Joy Hart.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It was a beautiful reading, Millie. So using that as inspiration, that may have brought up a memory or something for you. Or also you placed in the chat a number of just delicious foods. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to invite you to write just for 5 minutes as a warm up about a kitchen. So here are some possible starters. The kitchen was a place where the aroma I remember most is when I think about that house, it's the kitchen that the kitchen was always full of, or looking back, the kitchen was where I experienced. So those are some possible starters. You may already know what you want to write about. You may reference that food that you placed in the chat or anything that arises. Just relax into it, 5 minutes, and I will keep the time and let you know when there's about 1 minute remaining. And starting to find a place where you can bring the current sentence to a close. And so knowing that you can always return to that piece and can expand on that and continue it. I'm gonna have you just keep that for yourself for now. And I would love to just share with you a little bit about SoulCollage. You may be familiar with it or not, so I'll give just a little overview for everyone. And one thing that I'll say about SoulCollage, it is absolutely one of my favorite things. So, you know, the old Julie Andrews, Sound of Music, these are a few of my favorite things. This would be, I would have to add that to the lyrics if I could, because I just have fallen in love with this really beautiful, enchanting process that I'm excited to share with you. It is an expressive arts practice. As I mentioned, expressive arts is an opportunity to express ourselves creatively and to discover things about ourselves for personal growth and self-discovery. We are more focused on the process than the product, and the value is in the doing. And it's a process that was created by Sina Frost, who is a psychotherapist, and it is largely informed and inspired by the work of Carl Jung, who felt that images were extremely important and very powerful for self-awareness. The three things that it involves are images, which you brought with you, imagination, and intuition. And the premise is that we are personally drawn to images that have something self-reflective to offer us. So a message, an affirmation, some insight and wisdom. And by intuitively placing these images on the cards and then using journaling to interpret them, we are able to access that information. This process offers us the chance to celebrate our strengths and allow the wisdom within, and also maybe to identify blind spots or areas that we might wish to see growth in. It's really a chance to allow the logical left brain to rest and to lean into the creative, the intuitive side of the brain, and taking this visual, tactile approach to personal reflection and journaling using intuition and imagination. There's more I could say about it. I want you to have a chance to experience it. But ultimately, you can have a whole deck of these cards, like I do have over 200. It is a practice for me, like yoga and meditation, jogging, whatever you do that's restorative. So I try to make a couple of these a month and then journal with them. And so it can be really a powerful method where you have all of these cards that can ultimately be organized into suits and categorized, similar to playing cards and tarot cards. The founder designed some suits that represent aspects of the self. So you can categorize all of them and then work with them literally in a million different ways. But overall, it is a really highly accessible practice. A background in art is not at all necessary. Anyone can do this, all ages, all abilities. It's used in many different populations, and it is not affiliated with any particular religion or spiritual belief system. The soul in SoulCollage is about getting in touch with your higher self, your positive, wise inner core that exists within all of us. So that is my overview about SoulCollage. I want to just say a little bit more and then we will experience it. Some people ask me, why this size of the card? 5 by 8, why so small? Because maybe you do vision boards and those are big things. And the reason is that there is elegance and meaning in simplicity. It forces us to make some choices. That's part of the intuitive process to get to the essence of something. And a few striking images can be very moving and rich. So that's why the size. Also, if it is a practice, you're much more likely to make something this size than you are a huge, huge vision board. Cards can be both vertical or horizontal. So keep that in mind as well. Or probably, I guess you could do some type of diagonal thing as well if you wanted. And then the reason that we avoid words is we want to focus to the images when we are interpreting our collage. So I brought up vision boards where we might usually put, you go girl, live your best life, too blessed to be stressed, see it, be it, achieve it. All those little things that we might put, when interpreting it, we would be leaning into those words. So we really want to focus to the images and see what surprises and synchronicities that they have for us. So really the key to this process is to let go of your concerns about aesthetics and judgment and evaluation and assessment and just play. Don't focus on making a pretty card, focus on making the card that your heart wants to make. Follow your heart and your intuition. Give yourself permission to let go of the inner critic and to be a beginner and to return to that place perhaps in childhood where you created just for the sake of it. Not concerned about the outcome, the likes, the loves, the reviews, just being in the flow, creating for the sake of it, and be okay with not knowing how it's going to all turn out, but just know that you will find your way. Okay, so again, stack of images that you brought with you. Go ahead and divide those into, you may already have them in 3 piles. So you'll have your primary images, which are people and animals. Place those in one stack. And then placing the backgrounds, which are those larger images, maybe nature, interior, patterns, that could take up the expanse of the base that you're going to be using. So the expanse of the card or what you're using as your base, the backgrounds would cover that. That's going to be its own pile. And then finally, any miscellaneous objects and other little items that you brought with you would be in a third pile. So take a moment to just sort through those. So again, you're sorting for three piles: primary images, which are people and animals, and then your larger backgrounds that would cover the base that you're working with for the collage. And then finally, miscellaneous little objects and things. And then if you could just give me a thumbs up when you feel ready for the next step. Thank you, Corinne. Marilyn, I see you. Sherry, thank you. Barb, Steve, Russell, some others, Heather, Rebecca. People. Thank you, Christy. And Laura, Christina, Lily. Wonderful. So now setting your side, I need to learn how to do that, Kristen, where all the things go up. I don't know how to do that. I love that. So now that you have your piles, in the chat. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, great. So setting aside your miscellaneous images and your backgrounds just for now, take a look at the primary stack. So those are your people and animals. Okay, and just taking that group, I'm going to invite you to flip through those and just look through those and just feel into which one of those wants to be worked with today, right now. So of course you chose all of them and they're all great. They all appeal to you for some reason, but take the one, maybe it's you just feel it in the body. Your eye keeps being drawn to one of those people or animals that is going to be worked with today. We're going to be making a quick card, or also called a warm-up card, which is one that we make very quickly today. And then in future weeks, we'll have a longer amount of time because I won't have to do that whole introduction. So we're making a quick card today, a warm-up card. And so you're choosing one of those primary images, feeling into it, not overthinking it, not worrying about what you're going to do with it, but just which is the one that your eye keeps going to. And once you've selected that one, you want to go ahead and start cutting it away from the background on which it appears. So I have, for example, this beautiful little gopher, lemur, something little cute thing. So I'm going to take that and really cut around the contours of it. So you don't really want to just cut a square around him. You want to really get into the contours of around the object, the animal or person that you're selecting, and removing it from the background that it appears on currently. So it might be on an ad or a photo layout, something, whatever it's on, removing it from its background because we are going to give it a new home. So liberating it from where it appears. and cutting it very dynamically around the contours will really make the collage, will make it pop. So take a few moments to do that step. Feel free to jump in if you have any questions. As you're starting to finish up cutting that image away from its original background, if you are still working on that, continue cutting. So what you'll do now is take your background images, that stack of backgrounds that you have with you, turn to that stack, and now take that little figure that you cut away and hold that figure up to the different backgrounds. So you have maybe have 4 or 5 backgrounds. Hold that figure up to the first one, hold it up to the second one, and feel into where it wants to land. And you might have an immediate visceral response like, oh no, or oh yes. And so hold that figure up in front of those backgrounds until you find the background that it wants to land on now. And a note that you do not want to feel matchy. So you don't want to feel like, well, I have the prairie dog. That's what it is. It's finally come to me. That's what this is. It's a prairie dog. Well, I need to put him, back in a background that has the grasses. Feel free to put things in different places. That is the nature of collage, where we see different elements that we don't normally see in reality coming together. So don't feel the need. I guess what I'm saying is, if you have a chef, he needs to go in the kitchen background. Feel free to place them in a different, totally unexpected background. So what you're doing is just holding that primary figure up and figuring out which of the backgrounds it's going to land on. Not gluing anything quite yet, but just figuring out your building blocks, which are the primary figure and its new background. Yes, great question. Kristen asks, can we tear some pieces from more than one background to use? Absolutely. And so I'm going to put up a slide with the entire process, and we'll have about 8 more minutes to put together our collage. And so you'll hopefully have a primary image and a background image. A warm up card really just involves those two images, a quick card, just those two images, which could be glued down now, gluing down your background and then the primary image on top of it. And if you like, you could cut away the background around your base so it fits really beautifully. We'll have some additional time for you to put it all together and glue it down. And while you're doing so, if you have any other miscellaneous objects or items that feel like you want them to go on this card as well, feel free to move things around and add them before you glue down. So you have a little bit of free time to kind of decide that primary image, the background image, and maybe something additional. One thing that I will say about all the images is that you do want them to have a similar energy. So by that, I mean, if you take a look at this card, you can see the woman doing yoga and she has a very serene look on her face. And then up above, I have these lions that also kind of have the same expression that she has. You can see that. And so that's what I mean by similar energy. So if the lions were growling, I wouldn't place them on the card with her. I'd give them their own card. Or if she were crying or something, I might not place her with the serene lions. So you do want to have the same energy, the same emotional energy. That makes it easier for us to interpret the card when we get to that part. So I'm going to give you a few moments. We'll have until, let's say, about until 52 after the hour. We're in different time zones. And so you can figure out the primary, the background, and any other objects, and then go ahead and glue those down so that by about 52 after the hour, you have your complete little quick card. And as I mentioned, we'll have more time to create collages in future weeks. This first week, there was a lot to say in terms of introductory information, but we'll just making a quick card, which can be just as powerful. And yes, I'll hold up this card for anyone who wanted to see that again. And you can see that's a very simple card. There is just a background, the woman doing yoga, and then the lions. I'm going to put up a slide. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Heidi. She beat me to it. All right, thank you. And so we'll have a little music and just a chance to put that collage together. All right, and hopefully starting to feel that it's feeling like you have something you can work with to interpret. So as those of you who are finishing up, I'll say a little bit about how we interpret a soul collage card. And so you generally, when you see a piece of art, you say something about, someone's like, tell me about this piece of art. So for example, this card, I would say, well, there's a woman and she's sitting in a meditative pose. And then there are, some crossword puzzle little images there. And then the background appears to be a web of some sort. And she looks serene and hands outstretched. So that's what's going on. And that is what's going on in the card. But what we do when we interpret a intuitive collage is we actually step into the world that we have created for ourselves and we become one of the images. So for example, if I were to become her, and when I say one of the images, I could actually speak and become the crossword puzzle and speak from that. I could speak from the web. But just to start with, let's say I'm speaking from the primary image, the woman in the meditative pose, stepping into that world and speaking from her perspective, starting with the prompt, I am one who, I wrote with this one, I am one who remains grounded while navigating the winding web of life. I find answers to puzzles and challenges in quiet moments. And so you see how powerful that is. It's an affirmation that I've created. When I put these images together, I just really liked how they looked, and I just went to, I just wanted to put them together. But then when I stepped into the world and into her perspective, that powerful affirmation by me, from me, within me came about. So that's what I'm going to invite you to do now, is to step into the primary image on your collage. And it's okay if it's not all glued down. You kind of have a sense of how it's going to all go and know which one is the primary image. And so we have this slide called Meeting Your Collage. And I'm going to invite you to step into the world and become that primary image, writing from its perspective. So start with, I am one who, and maybe just allow it to give one sentence introducing itself, saying who it is. And then once that feels complete, you might ask it one of the following questions that kind of relate to our theme for today, food and family. And there are 3 questions there. What message or guidance do you have for me about family, connection, and belonging? What part of my past family or heritage do I need to revisit to better understand myself? Or what do I need to embrace or release? And so after it introduces itself with the I am one who statement, then you will ask it one of the questions and let it respond. Okay. Feel free also, if you'd like, I believe you'll get a recording of this as well, so that if you'd like to take your own screenshot, feel free to do so that you have all of the questions to work with this collage later. But for now, just I am one who, 1 or 2 sentences, and then choose one of the questions to ask the image. Welcome back. I love to see the smiles that come back after the small groups. In the interest of time, I'm going to have us move right into the guided autobiography portion of it, and just tell you a little bit about it, and then offer you a chance to do some writing along the lines of the theme that we have today, which is food and family. So guided autobiography is a really unique reflective writing practice that offers a holistic approach to memoir, self-discovery, and personal growth. And it was developed by Dr. James Viren at USC, and then later he was associated with UCLA. It is called autobiography, but it really is memoir. So autobiography is really where we just start from birth and go chronologically all the way up to today, whereas memoir is focused on different themes, and what different themes, and it may actually just deal with one part of our lives, like coming of age memoirs you might read, or a memoir about like Wild, where she just is a certain part of her life, the journey that she took. So that's really what this is. There's a focus on themes and capturing specific moments or aspects of our lives. And people do it for a number of reasons. It started as something in the Center for Aging at USC, and then it's expanded to really encompass all ages, because this type of life review of what's gone on with you can be powerful really at any age. And the benefits that they've found through research is that it increases self-esteem. It gives an awareness of the past strategies that we've used to adapt to things and how they could be applied to current situations. Often helps resolve past resentments and negative feelings, and just gives a deeper understanding of our life choices, and an increased sense of meaning and purpose, and an appreciation for the various stages of development that we've gone through. So we have often, after writing, a sense of accomplishment and a fulfillment, and just a more positive view of the future. So the writing that we do is not, again, about editing or critique. As the writer, you maintain authority over what you write. And this process often helps people find their own way in terms of writing about their lives. And it often, I've found, leads to really some unexpected places and is overall very self affirming and insightful. So, that is kind of a general overview. It is theme based. And generally, the way the process was designed is that a person writes generally 2 single-space pages at home and then brings them back and shares them with the group. And so, but for this format that we're doing, we're going to do the writing, definitely not 2 single-space pages, but more about 15 minutes of writing, and then have an opportunity to simply read and then share within our small group and have some reflections. So that is overall what the process is about. And a PDF was sent with questions for you to think about in terms of what you might like to write about your family for this particular moment. And again, you can return to these questions over and over again. But what I'm going to do now is just read through them briefly, and you might just feel free to just soften your gaze, close your eyes, and just let the questions wash over you. Just breathe, reflect, and sit, and maybe something will arise that you'd like to write about during this session. And all of these questions may not apply to you. They're not all meant to be answered, just some will just resonate, and that will direct you towards what you might wish to write about. Our family histories include both our family of origin, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, and the family of our adult lives, spouses, partners, children, grandchildren, and in-laws. And then perhaps a friend, a mentor, a neighbor, or other person has been close to you and impactful. They are family as well. What family members have you felt closest to, and which ones felt most distant? Which were your role models? What was your experience of love and support from your family? Who held the power in your family and made the major decisions? Were there heroic figures whose stories were told in the way of legends? What were the rules about food, dining, hygiene, dress, cleaning up, etc.? What were the strengths and weaknesses in your family? How did they affect you? Were there events that either made your family stronger or created discord? What is the history of your family? What were its origins? And who were its major figures? Did your family have a philosophy about life that was discussed and that you were expected to adopt? What were the shoulds and ought tos in your family? What favorite sayings illustrate your family's philosophy of life? Is there anything about your family that made it stand out from others in your community? For example, socioeconomic status, ethnic background, philosophy, sexual identity. How did you become aware of this, and what memories do you have? And finally, did faith or the practice of faith play a role in your family life, and how has that influenced you? So maybe something arose as you listen to those questions that you'd like to write about. And maybe a number of things arose, so choose one thing that you might want to dig into. And we'll have about 15 minutes to do some writing. There is a slide that is coming up. And be as creative as you'd like, tuning into the senses as you write. And if you're not sure how to start, possibly just start with I remember. And now starting to find a stopping point, maybe bringing the current sentence to a conclusion, but not feeling that you have to conclude the piece itself. You may want to return to it and expand, but just finding a stopping point for now. But I will offer a few tips in terms of listening and any reflections that you might want to give. And so, we just ask that you listen actively, giving a person your full presence as the story is shared. It's very can be feel very vulnerable. It's a brave act to write and share that. So just giving honor to that as a person does share. And if you want to say a few words, you might reflect back what you heard, something supportive and encouraging. We do try to avoid interpreting or evaluating other stories and giving our own analysis through our own lens, but simply listening is very powerful, and avoiding comments, comparisons, or judgments about what was written and what was shared, and of course, maintaining confidentiality within your group. I hope you enjoyed the groups and the opportunity to share. Oh, yay, Cynthia, thanks for that thumbs up. We have a few minutes left before you head off into your weekend. So next week will go a little differently. We'll have longer times for everything. It's the introductory day, so there's a lot of housekeeping to do. It's both of these processes are powerful in and of themselves, and then when put together, I think there's something really working. And then when you have a community coming together, everyone tapping into that energy, I think it really starts as something that we can't really touch or see, but it is there. So thank you for joining in and for participating this first week. I look forward to the next 3 weeks. Next week will be branching points, turning points. You will receive a handout with the priming questions, which are the questions I read for that theme to think about over the course of the next week. Feel free to return to what you wrote here with your collage or the writing that you just did to expand if you like. And in the last second, before I turn it back over to Heidi, there's a great quote by the wonderful Margaret Atwood: "A word after a word after a word is power." And I find that very empowering, especially in these times. We're doing what we can to claim our power and hopefully affect the world positively. So doing that inner work then leads to the outside. And so I'd love if you could place in the chat briefly, maybe a one word takeaway, one word maybe that you learned about yourself, that you focused on, that was recurring, that came up during this process, if you'd like. So feel free to place your word into the chat. You will be receiving a recording in the follow-up email along with the handout for next week. And I'm seeing the words coming: dynamic, curious, open, support, quiet and powerful love, knowing, understanding, grace, empathy, connection. Beautiful. So with that, I will turn it back over to Heidi for her closing words. And we will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend and be safe. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Kimberly, and gratitude for leading us through week 1 of this creating and writing journey. And thank you all for joining us today. We'd like to extend our appreciation for our donors and the Los Angeles Department of Arts and Culture, who make the Hope series possible, and to poets and writers, of which this series is partially supported by. As Kimberly mentioned, there will be a follow-up email that also includes the survey I put in the chat, along with some resources, and it will have the handout for next week as well. Your feedback on the survey helps to ensure that we continue to best serve our community. Our upcoming trainings are also listed here. So as you all know, this is our Hope series for the month of March. We do have Hope for April available to register. And then some of our professional development and other trainings are available too. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. We look forward to seeing you next Friday for the second week. Have a great rest of your day.